Good morning, everyone. Chodesh Tov and happy Hanukkah. Tonight we will have the privilege of lighting all 8 candles of the menorah. And everyone's welcome to Royal Poinciana Plaza, where we'll light up the menorah and have a big celebration at 5:30 tonight. But I got a call from someone this week, and he said to me, Rabbi, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he asked me a question. I didn't know the answer. Wondering if you could help me. I said, sure. He says, my friend asked me, where in the Torah does it have the holiday of Hanukkah? Where does the Torah talk about the holiday of Hanukkah? So I said to him, well, obviously, the story of Hanukkah happened about 1,000 years after the Torah was completed, and therefore Hanukkah is not a biblical holiday. It's not in the Torah. It's a rabbinic holiday. But after I hung up the phone, I thought to myself, but he does have a good question. Why does he have a good question? Because when it comes to the holiday of Purim, the Talmud says, where do you find Esther in the Torah? Where do you find Mordechai in the Torah? And the Talmud points to verses that allude to the futuristic holiday of Purim that occurred obviously after the Torah was completed. But yet, for some reason, the Talmud doesn't say where do you find the Maccabees or where do you find the story of Hanukkah. But the question is, everything's in the Torah, even events that will occur later. Where can we find an allusion, so to speak, where the Torah alludes to the future holiday of Hanukkah? And what comes to mind, perhaps, is a similarity between a story in the Torah and the story of Hanukkah. When Moshe Rabbeinu is shepherding the flock of his father-in-law, we all know what happens. He sees a bush, a little bush, and the bush is on fire, but miraculously, hasneh einenu l'kol. Usually, the bush will be consumed and the fire will burn out. But this fire is a perpetual fire. It never burns out. It keeps on burning. And Moshe stops. He's surprised to see this image of a burning bush that doesn't get consumed. And of course, God comes to him and communicates with him, I want you to go take the Jews out of Egypt, which he does. And the rest is history, as they say. So perhaps this is a forerunner of the story of Hanukkah. The idea that the flame is not consumed. The flame doesn't die out. It never burns out. It keeps on burning. Like Hanukkah, the little cruse of oil, it was supposed to last one day. Like tonight, will burn 8 nights till they were able to get new oil. But why did God speaks to many people in the Torah. He doesn't always have an imagery, a prop. Why did God show the image of the burning bush to Moshe? What was the message in the burning bush? And perhaps it's the same message as Hanukkah. God is sending Moshe on a big mission. You have to go stand up against Paro. You have to demand the freedom of the Jewish people. You have to take the Jews out of Egypt. You have to lead them 40 years. It's a long task. It's going to take a lot of effort. And we know that a lot of times, especially leaders, they suffer from something called burnout. They get burnt out. So like the burning bush, you're going to get burnt out. So God says, no, you're not going to have any burnout. Like the burning bush, it's going to keep on burning. Why? Because if you realize you're on a mission from God in this world, you have a spiritual purpose behind what you're doing, you don't get burnt out. You only get depleted emotionally and physically and spiritually if you don't have a higher source of power generating your soul. But when you know, I am on a mission from God, God empowered me to go out and save the Jews and bring them out of it, then you have such strength behind you that you never burn out. And you're able to lead the Jews from slavery to the promised land. And that's the message of Hanukkah. Sometimes you look at your inner oil and you say, I have just one little cruise left. I'm on low, like your gas tank, you know, I'm like in yellow already. You're like, I'm going to burn out, I'm going to break down, I can't keep on going. And the answer is, if you plug into your higher power source, if you realize God gave you, what you're doing in this world is not just random, but you're connected to your divine purpose in this world. You know you're here for a mission, and you're carrying out your mission every day, then like the burning bush or like the little flame, it never burns out. You find the strength, as it says, V'kovei Hashem, those who put their trust in God, Yachlifu Koach, they always have renewed power, renewed energy. There's no weakening of the parts, no dimming of the light. Like Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of his life, and like all righteous people, always found the strength, like the Maccabees, to keep on burning. And that's really the story of the Jewish people. We just mentioned yesterday another terrible tragedy in a synagogue in Muncie. A madman with a machete walked in and stabbed 4 Jews. And we're weary, we're tired, thousands of years of exile. What keeps us going? The flame of Torah, the flame of Judaism. When the light is burning, you keep on going until the end of days when Mashiach will come and the whole world will be lit up. They tell a story in the olden days that the trains electricity. So when the trains would go in the tunnels, it was dark. How did they avoid crashes? To make sure there would be no accidents. There was a man whose job it was to stand there with a lantern. And when the train was coming, he would like wave the lantern to know which direction the train should go. And then when the other train, he would wave it in a different direction. There was a whole system to make sure there was no accidents. One day there was a big accident. 2 trains collided, a big tragedy. A lot of people got hurt and died. And so there was an investigation to see what went wrong. So they called in the guy whose job was to stand at the intersection and wave the lantern. And they interrogated him. Were you standing on your job? Did you come on time? Were you in the right position? Did you wave the lantern in the right direction, this way, that way? Yeah, he answered everything correctly. They said, okay, you're exonerated, you can go. He goes out of the interrogation room and his wife is waiting. He says, how did it go? He says, oh, they acquitted me. They said I'm exonerated. I did everything okay. And then he breaks down crying. And his family says, what are you crying? They said, you're innocent. You weren't responsible. You weren't guilty. He said, I'm crying because they didn't ask me one question. They didn't ask me if the lantern was lit. And the moral of the story, obviously, sometimes we're waving the lantern, we're going through all the motions by rote in life, but the lantern's not lit, the flame is not burning. And that's when we get burnt out, we're exhausted. How long could you go through the motions without any feeling, without any passion, without any excitement, without any enthusiasm? We have to make sure we light the candle of God, the soul within man, the inner flame. And when that's burning brightly, then by itself, the body carries out its duties and you never feel tired, you never feel exhausted. On the contrary, you have eternal light, like the light of the menorah and like the light of the burning bush.